much, guys, for coming. I know you guys are eager to get chatting with each other, so I won't take too long to introduce Dr. Richard Mountain. He's here to talk to you about some proper nutrition and some different things that he knows a lot more about than I do. So I'll turn it over to him. So please be respectful of kids and parents. And you know, you can give him a hard time and challenge him if you want, and we can go from there. Thank you again.
Wow, thank you everybody for coming tonight. It's such a great turnout. I can tell you parents, I was here last night with the U16, U18, and you kids have got something to look forward to. Wow, did I have awesome questions from them? And you guys, I did a slightly different talk, but I can say what a program, what a program. There was a crowd of kids around me last night asking question after question. Some of them stumped me. Questions, things a little over this age group, but pretty impressive. So what a good program you guys are in. Thanks for coming, parents. I tried to tailor a couple things to you guys too. Last night there was 3 hardcore parents and Jonah who showed up, so I didn't need to tailor things to them. So if you do have questions, I don't mind. I don't think we have to fly out of here. Last night we were on a bit of a tighter timeline because they needed the room. So I don't mind if you put up your hand, unless we're getting way too many, and then I might say we'll wait till the end. But if you got a question, you could ask, okay? So I have a private practice, and I have a clinic in Airdrie. We have a bunch of practitioners. We even have midwives, massage therapists, and counselors, several of us. I like to practice natural family medicine, but my interest and I went to the University of Calgary and I did exercise science, so I love sports medicine and sports nutrition. That's sort of my first love before I got married, of course. That's my family. We just took that picture. We went to Newfoundland, and trip of a lifetime, some friends moved there. Has anybody been to Newfoundland? Awesome! It's such a cool place. I didn't know it existed. Oh wait, no I didn't. No I didn't know. I knew it existed. But my boys are hardcore hockey fans. I do like hockey, but they are huge fans. He's a Boston Bruin fan. Is that And he likes the Vegas Knights. Is that bad? Okay, so there are 24 hours in a day. There's 168 hours in the week. 168 hours in the week. Your coaches are going to work with you in the hours that you spend on the ice. What I'm going to talk about today, because I'm not a hockey coach, I can barely skate backwards. I kind of can, but not that great. So I'm not a good hockey player. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you about things you can do the rest of the hours of the week when you're not on the ice, so that you're faster when you're on the ice. Right? Faster, more dedicated, focused. You can follow a play. You can pick up a lead. You can see what they're going to do, who's going to pass to you, this kind of thing. So we'll talk a little bit about rest, sleep, foods, things like this. So first thing we're just going to cover is sometimes it's nice to stay up late, but enough sleep equals motivation and focus. So a lot of times your coaches are trying to motivate you. Come on, dig deeper. You can skate harder. You can go faster. You won't have enough sleep. Now, how much sleep do you need? Good 10 hours if you're, and is anybody in here 8 years old? Okay, so you guys can almost have 11 to 11 and a half hours at 8. Okay? You don't have enough sleep, guys. You don't have enough sleep. You can't skate fast for very long. You get tired. What time are you up in the morning?
6, 7, 6,
If you're up at 7, then you need to go to bed around 8 o'clock at night. If you're 8 years old. Okay? And you gotta be up an hour earlier. So this bottom one I put down here because there are some information on that. If you guys might be young enough, that might be okay. But maybe this one Probably not cell phones, maybe too much, but this one you gotta watch with having a TV in your room. House designers, they'll all put them in our bedrooms. They're very, very bad for our sleep, even when they're not on. Not because of radiation or things like that, which could be, that's outside my expertise, but because the temptation to turn them on. What's on? What should I look at? Play video games, this kind of stuff. So careful with that. If you guys want to be excellent, excellent hockey players, just watch, when I say clean up your room, that could mean put your clothes in the laundry too, to help sort your parents out, right? But I mean, clean up, be careful with these kind of distractions that can affect your sleep. You want all your energy peaked for on the ice. You don't want things to rob your energy, like playing video games too late or being tempted to, even that temptation to, the fact of having a cell phone by your nightstand table as adults, that actually turns on a part of your brain, it's called the reticular activating system, the same part that especially a new mother is better at than their husbands. It's the same part of your brain that the baby does one sound and you're like, hey, go check them. That's your reticular activating system. If you have your cell phone, even in your bedroom, the same part of your brain is listening. Is a text coming in? Is something coming in? So anyways, that same thing happens a little bit with kids with even TV and video games. We don't want that turned on. We want them to have good sleeps. So, the next thing we're going to talk about, food. And there's this common saying, it says, you are what you eat. But that's not true. You're not a potato. Well, that's good. Okay?
I'm a potato.
So at your age, you guys, 8 to 10, at your age, the distance between this top, your mouth, and the bottom part, we're not going to say the name in here, but you know the bottom part, it's about 30 feet long. Did you know that? So this is 1 foot, that's about 12 inches long, 30 feet. So the distance between here and here, it's a windy, whole bunch of bends. I'm not going to take all the time to measure it out, but if you count it out 30 feet, in a 6-foot adult, it's about 36 feet long. Okay? So you're not what you eat, you are what you absorb. And that means that not everything that you put in your mouth, you could eat crayons, you could eat chalk. Not everything you put in your mouth is necessarily food that you should absorb. And what I say by you are what you absorb, some of what you eat becomes you. Where did your muscles come from?
You.
Those are good answers. Some from vegetables, yes, some from vegetables. Vegetables is almost always the right answer. Some from meat. So if you eat some meat, okay, so let's pretend you eat some meat. If you absorb that meat, it goes into your blood and it comes from your tummy to your heart. What does your heart do? Pumps it to where? Your body, your brain, and your muscles. So when you eat meat, the meat you ate yesterday, some of that, it will be in your arm, in your leg. What do you need to play hockey? It really helps to have arms and legs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I put here, not everything you put in your mouth, chew, and swallow should be called food. That's true. Some foods we eat, and I'm going to pick on a few tonight. We're going to come back to that point. Pick on a few tonight. Some foods we eat, we shouldn't really call them food. They come in a box, and they're kind of all synthetic meat. If you guys want to be high-level hockey players, that's not really a great food. What's your question, buddy? Next time. Okay, kids, for just a minute, we got to talk about food because this comes up all the time in my practice. Okay, kids, if you are having more than 3 poops a day, don't tell me now, or don't tell your neighbor. You got to tell your parents. Sometimes your parents do too, and they don't realize that is not normal. If you want food to go to your muscles, you can't be pooping more than 3 times a day. Okay? It's a simple thing. you're probably going to be fine. You're probably going to live to 110. Don't worry about that. Nothing urgent. You don't need to worry. But if you poop more than 3 times a day, now if you poop less than once a day, that's not good either. Okay? 1 to 2 times, maybe even 3 is fine. But kids, I deal with this a lot in my practice with kids. Just they're not recovering. Oh, he can't finish his shift. He's too tired. He's too bogged down. He's swelled. This kind of stuff. And they poop like twice a week. That is not normal. Or they poop like 6 times a day. They're really, really skinny. They can't get on muscle mass. And the parents are like, well, I do too. That's normal. No, it's not. Okay, I said, good. I'm glad. Remember, you're not supposed to tell your neighbor how many times you poop a day. Tell your parents that. Okay, we're going to start with breakfast. Let's start with breakfast. So, who eats breakfast? Yeah, so I put up here the most important meal of the day because at some point in time you got to eat. Now, for the parents out there, a lot of times for periods of time, maybe it might be a month or 2, I condition people and get them to a point where they actually defer out their breakfast, and we're not going to get into that today, but breakfast, we have been lied to a little bit by the sanatoriums. Kellogg and his brother was a doctor, and then TV commercials out in the 1950s, and they're like, breakfast is the most important meal of the day, and what do you eat? Kellogg's cornflakes. And that was sold to us as that's what we need to do, and that idea is still perpetuated to this day. So I put that as a little exclamation mark because breakfast for some is not a great idea, but for athletes, I'm a pretty big fan. If you don't eat breakfast and you're an athlete, that's not necessarily a healthy thing as an athlete. So what I did here, we're going to go back to this. I went to Sobeys and I bought these. And I want, oh boy, I don't want to get too much of a ruckus here, but which one of these do you think is the healthiest? Good guess. Vector. Vector. None of them. Okay, kids. The reason I brought these is these come up often. And parents, I am not making fun of you if you've said who I'm going to impersonate here. This is common knowledge. If you think this way too, you are not alone. You are not weird. It is common knowledge. Oh, I would never let my child eat Fruit Loops. They only eat multigrain cereal, Cheerios. Can you tell me the difference between these two? Hey, what do you expect than the other? So, kids, on the back, hold on, I might get to you. On the back, there is this rectangular box. When you, at your age, you're all smart enough, you could read down there and read that box. That's going to give you basic macronutrients. Macronutrients means sugar, protein, fats. And if you compare these two, what's the difference? Fats. 1 versus 1.5 grams, that's negligible. Carbohydrates, 34 versus, helps if I read the English side. 34 versus 25, pretty high carbohydrate, slightly more in the Fruit Loops. And if we bring out Honey Nut Cheerios, 23 versus 25. There's Metto in here, which is an orange food coloring that is used in marbled cheese and orange cheeses. Some children do not do well with Ametto, but all the other, and Ametto is a plant, it's a fruit or a flower. I apologize, I have to look that up. It is a fruit or a flower. All the food colorings in here are natural sourced, but there is really no difference, folks, between the performance you get from this cereal versus this cereal. Now, Vector cereal has slightly more do you know what ingredient has slightly more of? What macronutrient? Protein. Oh, who's the parent of this child? Wow. It is slightly more protein, which could make it slightly healthier. I do like this young gentleman's answer over here. Which one is healthiest? He said none of them. Yeah, but kids, as athletes, I was explaining this in much more detail to the group last night. When you are playing hockey, when you are skating very fast where you can hardly breathe, what is the primary thing that your muscles are using for energy?
Protein. Everything.
Sugar, kids. Sugar, not protein. Okay? So if you're going to eat a breakfast like this and then play hockey right away within probably 45 minutes or so, that might be okay. But if you're going to eat any of these, the Vector one is slightly better because of the protein in there. So you still need protein to keep you full a little bit. If you just eat this, one of these, you will have a bunch of sugar come into your blood and then a bunch of sugar gone. And you, let's say that was an hour before the game, you could actually feel like, oh, yawn just before the game. So if you're going to eat a breakfast like this, please, parents, look into things like hemp hearts, blueberries. Please put some cinnamon on it. Put some scoop of peanut butter on it or something where you get some protein and some fats. Okay, that is a wonderful breakfast up there, by the way. That's a great breakfast example. A little banana can get potassium. What's
Excuse me, how much calories does each one have?
You come and look after. Well, you can come and look after all the calories, okay, bud? Okay, so why colors? Now, I don't mean colors like Fruit Loop colors. We want, this is, I don't know if anybody's seen this. I picked this from Health Canada. This is not perfect, but it is their best food guide to date. It came out in 2019. And it is a dramatic departure from the original food guides, which are based on the USDA food pyramid in the United States. We did a rainbow, but the bottom of the rainbow was all carbohydrates. This one is the first dramatic separation from that. I'm not saying it's perfect. We're not going to pick it apart today, but they have lots of colors on the right-hand side, or your left-hand side. The reason why we like colors, colors represent things you don't get in a multivitamin. There are things that are unstable in a multivitamin. You can't keep it on the shelf for a long time. But this is red cabbage, for example. Blueberries, proanthocyanidin. Pick up a multivitamin. That's not in there. Those things help mop up. Now that's not, I'm on video here, so I was afraid of what I'm going to say. They're like, you said. So they help, I'm putting in quotes because it's not physiologically 100% true, but they help mop up things like lactic acid. Has anybody heard of that?
No.
That's what one of the things, it's not the whole thing, but it's one of the things that makes it so your muscles burn, oh, I need to take a break. And then they're sore after. It's not fully related to that, but those colors, fibers absorbs acid and moves your poop. Fibers are in color. And colors represent vitamins. If you have colors, there's no advantage to a multivitamin. There's none. You can give multivitamins, but if you eat enough colors in your food, there's no advantage to a multivitamin. Does anybody know, we'll try and keep this really quick. It's a bit of a trick question, and it's in air quotes there. What is the #1 performance-enhancing supplement for hockey, for lots of sports? Oh, I like it, creatine. It's actually related to this, but not exactly. Who is that child's parents? My goodness. What is that? Water, H2O. Yeah. Okay. So, kids, you gotta drink water, okay? And that goes back to the pooping thing sometimes if kids don't poop enough. But you gotta drink water. We're gonna tell you how to fine tune the water, make the water a bit better for performance, but you gotta drink water. It is, if you're dehydrated, I think I have that on the next slide. Very few things slow you down more than dehydration. Oh, you don't want to be slow on the ice, right? Yeah, so you gotta drink water. Nothing reduces your ability to focus and think more. Your brain has a lot of water. Okay, our bodies are about 72% water. So we need water. So we're going to go to my next props up here. Alright, I'm not going to, show of hands, I'm going to lift them up. We're not going to talk, we're just going to do hands. When I lift it up, you put up your hand if you think this one is the best of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 I brought here. Okay, are you ready? Hands up if you think this one is the best one. For green, it matches your jerseys and everything. You guys are green, you got a big green, right? Okay, ready? Okay, what about this one? Only one taken for Powerade? 2. Okay, ready? I should write it down, Joan. I should write it down. Okay, and the Wonderful Amazing Prime. And BioSteel. I mentioned this to the group last night too, but it is worth saying, and I forgot to check if Mountain Dew still has it, but I don't think I was reported at the time, but I mentioned to parents and kids about several kinds of Gatorade that were cloudy in color. And if you looked at one of the ingredients in them, they had BOVs, brominated BVOs, vegetable oils. And they did that to make it sort of oilier kind of texture on your tongue, is a different mouthfeel, and it maintained kind of a cloudy appearance and separated its look from the other ones that you can almost like look through. And at that time I said, bromide, it's a fire retardant used in clothing and blankets and pillows and things like that. That stuff interferes with thyroid hormone production. If you look at chemistry, the valency chart is in the same line as iodine. And anyways, last year, California made legislation that became permanent October this year. Brominated vegetable oils are banned from food products in California, and other provinces and other places will probably follow. And now I went through all the Gatorades in the store, not one of them had it anymore. Okay? So let's talk about this one. Gatorade Zero. Now, you guys are athletes. If you are drinking this on the bench, it is okay if you have sugar in here. If you are drinking this on a road trip and you're sitting in your parents' car in the back, this is just going to give you cavities because if it had sugar in it. But this is no sugar in it. Now, this has a new, it's not a new ingredient, it's in lots of things. It is called sucralose. And this year, in the springtime, several very large studies came out. Sucralose is chlorinated sugar. What do they put in the swimming pool, kids? Chlorine. You can smell it. Sucralose is chlorinated sugar. Now, when I went to the University of Calgary, one of my professors said, that stuff is dangerous. Health Canada said repeatedly, it is safe, it is safe, it is safe. Now there are several studies that show repeated use causes DNA damage, gut wall problems, and I do not recommend sucralose. It is an artificial sugar. It has no calories. Your body doesn't know what to do with it. It is chlorinated sugar, sucrose. It's chlorinated sugar. So I would put this one at the bottom, okay guys? Don't do any zeros. You guys are athletes. If you're drinking it when you're in playing hockey, it's okay for you to have some sugar because your muscles need that to burn. Go ahead.
So if sucrose is chlorinated sugar, what's fructose?
Oh my goodness, who are these scientists in here? Okay, fructose comes from the meaning fruit sugar, but it's not just in fruit. Like grapes have a lot of fructose. And there's sucrose. Sucralose is the fake sugar. Sucralose is in here, which is chlorinated sucrose. There is lactose, which is a sugar found in dairy. So there's a whole bunch of kinds of sugars. So fructose, excellent question. If you look at a lot of the bottles, like this one, it'll say glucose fructose. And they've usually taken from corn. That's where fructose comes from, the cheapest in North America. It's overproduction of corn in the United States. So we buy the Coca-Cola and Powerade, they buy the fructose and they put it in their drink. Okay, excellent, excellent question. Oh my goodness, where did you find these kids? Okay, we're gonna go for the next one. Prime. Prime, go ahead, buddy. I would say the sugar type is better than Gatorade Zero. Good thing you got a blue one. Okay, Prime, tastes wonderful. Last night I was reading through here, they have some branched chain amino acids, which are proteins for your muscles. But then you look, and it says there's leucine, isoleucine, valine in the ingredients. But then you go to the little rectangular nutrition facts thing. What is the protein content?
Zero.
Zero. They put it in the ingredient list, but then the percentage of the serving size is zero. What the world? And I don't think there's caffeine in this one. Oh, caffeine. This one's caffeine free. Okay, so kids, this one also contains sucralose, which is chlorinated sugar.
It says not for kids.
You want a Prime? Good for you, you read that. But lots of kids are drinking this already. It's probably below a certain milligram, a certain number that they just rounded down to zero. That's my guess. But it's silly, it shows how little is in there. Oh, okay. All right. So we talked about these two. Okay, BioSteel. I'm going to talk about this one. Powerade. I'm just going to skip ahead for the sake of time because I want to get through my talk tonight. If we read the ingredients in here, here we go. Reverse osmosis water, sugar, which includes glucose and boom. Citric acid, natural flavor, salt, sodium, potassium. Those are electrolytes. We need them so we don't cramp. When we sweat, that's where this came from. Gatorade, the Florida Gators, football players, they scraped their skin, they took it to the lab, and they're like, huh, these guys, they're out there sweating all this potassium and chloride, and comes out, and that's where Gatorade for the Florida Gators, that's where it came from. It's sweat in a bottle, okay? So, yeah, it is sweat in a bottle. Yeah, it's not bad for you. Sweat in the bottle, that's good for you. Okay, we're going to keep reading. Tartrazine. Parents, do parents know what tartrazine is? What is the most common kid's favorite food? The kids last night guessed it. Like a food you would have for dinner. That's it in the name. Grab dinner. Okay. Tartrazine is yellow dye number 5. And tartrazine is associated with aggravation of ADHD, behavioral problems, etc. Tartrazine is yellow, okay? The next ingredient is brilliant blue. Kids, we're back in school. What happens if you mix yellow dye, yellow, and brilliant blue? What color do you get?
Green.
They did it just for the color. Don't buy things with tartrazine. You want your kids to focus, pay attention, listen to to their coach and you have them hopped up on tartrazine, right? And if you don't believe me, look it up. It's an interesting ingredient. It is banned in some places in the world as well, but we do unfortunately leave it in Canada. So I do not recommend this one. I would not give this to my kids because I like them to listen to me. Okay, we're down to 2. These 2 are probably the 2 best here. I'm not saying they're perfect. I get no money from them. I bought these with my own money. This one here has a red food coloring too, which is not great for everybody. It has a micro amount of vitamin B12 and none of the others do. The amount is so small, it's negligible, but if somebody really doesn't eat a lot of meat, it's better than nothing. This one here is very cool. It uses coconut water and things like that. I do like BioSteel. I picked on this one sports hydration, which is true, but kids, if you are playing hockey and you want to be explosively fast, skate, 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 jump over the boards, go fast. What is the ingredient you need to be able to go really fast for your muscles? Yeah, so you don't want to eat sugar before bed. No, you don't want to eat sugar and then go try and pay attention in your class in school, because you'd be like, ah! Okay, but if you need to skate fast, you got to skate fast, then some sugar. What I would do to make this perfect, parents, is I would put in the water bottle, add a little extra water, and put in a tablespoon of maple syrup. Why would I do that? The sugar and maple syrup has some minerals in it. Okay? So if you put this with a little extra water, maple syrup, it would probably be the best one. If not, this one would be probably the best one. I would not use it in its full form. Hockey coaches, I would always water it down. There is enough sugar in here. Some susceptible individuals, it will cause GI cramping from the amount of sugar that's in here. So I'd water it down at least 25%, like add 25% more water, maybe 50. So, okay, we talked about that. Okay, parents, really, really quick. I've gave you some actual, somebody want to take notes. Where's that parent? You go, hey, take your notes. So here, this is just be semi-technical for a minute. 30-minute glycogen window. So your kids did a tournament, they did a competition, they did a skating camp, and they're finished within 30 minutes. That is a window of opportunity to replace their stored glycogen. Glycogen is sugar converted, ready to go inside the muscle. There's a 30-minute window. If you were not going to play them on the ice again or do something else until after 24 hours, don't worry about that 30-minute window, okay? It's like if they're going to play again in like 14 hours or whatever, within less than 24 hours, after 24 hours, 99 to 100% of the glycogen will store all back up on its own. But if you're going to hit them again, back on the ice, whatnot, and it's under 24 hours, that 30-minute window is pretty important for your kid's success. That's the glycogen window. So if you wait till after that, that glycogen window closes, and then it's going to take 24 hours to fill up the fuel bank again. Does that make any sense, parents? Nod your head if I'm confusing you. Does it make any sense? Semi? Okay. Does that make any sense? No. Okay, so your parents are going to help you with this, kids. One of the things that you can do, which is it's studied extensively at McMaster University some years ago, is chocolate milk. Now, chocolate milk is mostly water, so I'm going to give you some other ideas on the next slide. But it has your ratio 3 to 1 to 1. That's what scientists are looking for. Carbs, protein, to fat. 3 times. I think we're getting chocolate milk here. If you read that square label on the back of chocolate milk and do the math, it is 3 times as much carbs as it does protein and fat. That is a pretty great recovery meal. It's just low because in those ingredients because it's mostly water. So one of the things, and I have to mention, I love dairy. My grandpa had a dairy farm, big stainless steel truck came pick up milk. Yeah. Do you know how hard it was for me to learn in school that dairy could hurt people? I was in denial for weeks. It can hurt their skin, it can hurt their belly. So parents, you know who you are. If your kids don't tolerate this, you got to do a different method, maybe almond milk or something. But if you're okay with dairy, I'm a pretty big fan, but I'm smart enough to realize it does hurt a lot of people. So it doesn't work for everybody. This is one of my favorite. This is a real recipe that I would do. Now, often I would do honey instead of Nutella, but I know the kids like Nutella, so I put it on there. You take a sandwich, you put half Nutella on one side, half peanut butter on the other, and you smush up a banana or medallion, coin up a banana, stick it in the middle. I actually eat that, usually with honey, but I do like Nutella. Who doesn't like Nutella, right? That you get, if you can get that into your child within 30 minutes, oh man, the protein, carbs, fat, you get it in there. That is a beautiful recovery meal. I actually have this. I'm going to send Jonah. I forgot to. It was a crazy day at work today. I will send a handout and he can disseminate it out to parents here. And I put that in there. What's the question, buddy? Yeah, you can do one without nuts. You can just do, you can even do things like wow butter and things like that. Yeah, you could do, and you can always have things, other things like even jerky in that for the protein in there. You can use peanut butter. Well, peanut butter's on the one side. Or almond butter, peanut butter, something like that. Yeah, and then do honey or something on the other side. Does that make sense that after exercise window, you want to refuel up their muscles so they're ready to go for the next day? This has higher dosages than chocolate milk. Okay, last night we talked a lot about something. Oh, you had a question?
What about things like Pediasure? Like the Pediasure shakes?
They're okay. Yeah, they have lots of sugar in them. Yeah, and they're full of electrolytes because they're meant for like if somebody would have been puking or had diarrhea. And you can do things like that. Yeah. Not generally, but for while they're playing hockey, that'd be fine. So last night we talked a lot about supplements. With your age group, I'm not the biggest fan of a lot of supplements, and I would prefer to do it more on a one-to-one basis if you ever, but I'm going to talk about just a couple that I think are important. Kids, do you know where this comes from? Yeah.
The sun.
Oh, man. Oh. The sun, he's right. Okay, so vitamin D comes from not just the sun, that is, but we're going to count them as correct. Strong sunlight. Strong. Today, we're in November 8th, right?
Yes.
Was it sunny today? I was inside all day. Okay, if you stood outside in the sun today, the darker your skin color, you have a natural built-in protection from acquiring too much vitamin D. So my wife is Swedish. She's very pasty blonde, white lady. Oh, you saw her picture back up there. She is Mrs. Mountain. What? What? Okay, high five her for me. Yes, she's a PA at their school. So, okay, so if her and I are sitting on a bench together in the summertime, she'll make more vitamin D than me. Okay? Because I'm slightly darker than her. Okay? She did, yes. She broke her leg. News travels. It was her foot, actually, but yeah, she kicked me too hard. That'll teach her, right? Tell her, say stop kicking Dr. Mountain, right? So, kids, in the winter time, you can stand outside all day. You'll make zero vitamin D. The sun is too low on the horizon to go deep enough into your skin. It's too diffuse. UVB, ultraviolet B light, is what makes vitamin D. It has to hit our skin with enough intensity and focus. It will not do that November through till about March. Okay, so what happens is I have seen kids, especially with darker skin color, but anybody, I have two kids with darker skin color, the brother and an older brother, they're playing in the playground, they both one broke an arm, one broke a leg. I'm like, okay, well, anybody can break legs, but both of you, within, I measure them, they're out of vitamin D. Okay? Vitamin D chaperones calcium into your bloodstream. We can get a lot more technical about menaquinine, vitamin K2 another day, but for now, vitamin D, you guys need strong bones. You're hockey players. You're going to get, I probably don't hit it your age, but you're still going to fall and stuff, okay? It does help. Vitamin D helps your immunity a little bit. And vitamin D also helps mood. Vitamin D activates serotonin in your brain. can help inflammation. It goes by body weight. At your ages, it's going to vary significantly based on body weight, but the dose is going to be probably in the neighborhood of 1.5 to 2,500 IU on like 8 to 10 year olds. Adult, I'm almost 200 pounds. For my body weight, I would take almost 5,000 to 6,000 through the winter months only. You do not take, generally you do not take vitamin D 365 days of the year, okay? Magnesium, we're almost done, everybody, we're almost done. How are we doing? We'll have some time for questions. I think magnesium is a generally safe supplement. And I should go back to vitamin D. Vitamin D is generally safe, but more is not better. If you miss one day and you're supposed to take, let's say, 2,000, 2 drops, that's a drop. If you miss one day, your parents could double the next. If you miss the whole week, you can't make the whole week up in one, like drop, 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 drop. Hold up your tongue, buddy. You can't do that, okay? So more is not better. You can overdose on vitamin D, and there are problems that can happen from that. So in that neighborhood, 1,000 is probably a bit small for most of you. Infants take between 400 and 800, and none of you are infants, you're strong kids. So you're going to be probably 1,500, minimum 2,000, 2,500. Some of you might even be big enough to do close to 3,000 through the winter only. Okay? Magnesium. Magnesium is generally safe. Some children will find magnesium calming, and I do use it for, it's very weak. I'm not overselling it to you here. Magnesium, we can use sometimes for ADHD prior to getting on the school bus or going to school, can calm them a little bit. But for athletes, one of the things we use magnesium for is to help your muscles not feel so tight when you stretch. And generally you do it after you finished your training camp that night. Every night that you're doing training, you take magnesium. This is a liquid form, and you would, at kids your age, you usually do like half a tablespoon before bed. This form, glycinate, parents, pay attention to that. Glycinate is one of the least laxative forms. Magnesium can be a laxative, okay, and that doesn't make it bad, because some kids need that. But that magnesium is generally very safe. Sometimes children will find if you give to them in the morning, they actually feel more sleepy. So you can experiment with that kind of thing, but to get around that, I would generally do it at nighttime. So if you use it at nighttime, if they were more sleepy, we go back to my first slides of getting them to have good sleep so they have more energy and focus and motivation, right? So it's usually a very safe supplement. That form, glycinate, is usually what I'd recommend, unless they were highly constipated. Then I would use magnesium oxide or magnesium citrate or something like that. There's many forms. Magnesium has to be bound to something. You can't just eat magnesium, you're like eating a piece of metal. It has to be bound to something. So that's a generally good form. Okay, I'm almost done here, kids. You guys are doing so awesome. So I always do a little disclaimer. I'm a huge fan of the psychological aspect of sport, but that is not my expertise. I'm a fan, but it's not my expertise. You can try that kind, but you can try, okay, let's talk about melatonin just for a minute, because he brought up. So that same kind of magnesium that I showed up there, her question was, well, what a good friend. Did you hear that? My friend, no, I'm just teasing. my friend can't fall asleep at night. What type of magnesium? Now, magnesium is not the greatest and strongest medicine for insomnia. It really isn't. But kids, it works a percentage of time. It actually does. I use it in my practice, okay? And it's natural and has basically no side effects. But he said, I take melatonin. You announced that, so I'm not telling on him. He yelled it out. So, parents, I don't mind melatonin at this age group. Do not give them more than 3 milligrams of melatonin. Okay? You will diminish their performance the next day. If you don't think you can see it, I'm telling you, it's not a good idea. The other thing about melatonin, I'm a fan of it, but it has a diminishing return. So kids, bear with me for a second, this is for the parents. Diminishing return means if you give melatonin tonight and tomorrow night and the next night and the next night, day 5, 6 down the road, it does not work half as good as it did the first time that you took it. Because melatonin is made in the pineal gland in your brain. You make it yourself. And when you take it exogenously, you take it from the outside and put it in you, your brain doesn't have to make near as much. And it'll downregulate. And so has a diminishing return. Nod, parents, if you get me. Some of you, okay. You ask me questions at the end if you don't. So please, use melatonin judiciously. It's a big tournament the next day. They're all wound up. He won't calm down. He won't calm down. He was give him some melatonin, right? But if you do that every day, shoot, you'd be like, this stuff doesn't work anymore. I know. Told you. It's got a diminishing return, okay? So there's, of course, 1,000 supplements I can talk about. I'm a food fan first. I use supplements every day in my practice. I'm a big fan. They have pluses, they have minuses. And I like melatonin. Don't use more than 3 milligrams at this age. If 3 milligrams does not work, more is not better. It will just cloud their performance the next day. Okay, so great questions. You guys are awesome. Okay, my disclaimer is I love sports psychology. I'm not an expert in it. I know when to refer out for that and when it's applicable. And I always say that all this talk about sleep hygiene and food and what breakfast to eat and the glycogen timing window is not a substitute for what your parents are teaching you, what your coaches are teaching you about a growth mindset and about team cohesiveness and how to work together as a team. Those are amazing parts of what makes a successful team. I'm not an expert on that, but I know its value, and its value is tremendous to learn how to be a team player. So the older group, I also talked about laboratory testing. That means you go in and you get your blood drawn. Take your blood out. It's pretty cool. It's actually a really neat thing. You can watch it if you want. Some people, just the sight of blood makes them pass out. If that's you, then you don't watch it. You look away. Okay? And then you can look at bunches of parameters, hormones, iron level, vitamin B12. Electrolytes I seldom measure. I can. They're cheap. It's like $8 per electrolyte. Magnesium's $8. Potassium's $8. But the reason I don't measure it is run up and down the room, your electrolytes change. So what happened on your way to the lab, whatever, we can't use electrolytes as a reliable, oh, that was your electrolytes that morning, therefore it will be that way in the game, or whatever. No. Check things that are a lot more persistent and reliable. Iron levels, thyroid hormone, testosterone. This age group is a bit young, hence why I did an entirely different talk tonight versus the age group last night, because I'm talking about lab testing for you guys. I don't think it's as applicable. Parents, something you could look into down the road. Because the older group has more things? No, not necessarily more things. I don't know. But that's a good guess. It could be. Just, I think it's more important you guys get a foundation of food and sleep and these other practices before we start looking at your blood. I mean, I'm happy to do that if somebody wants to, but if you live on multigrain Cheerios and that is, and I'm not saying they're terrible. Remember, add hemp seeds, blueberries, something healthy to add some colors to them. So, bananas are. That is my talk. You guys made it through. Wow. Okay, so I have a little bit of time. Parents and kids, if you want to ask questions, I'll let everybody here. What's your question, buddy? Oh, nice. They have potassium. That's good. For you? You want to keep the fruit loose?
Can I keep the box?
Oh, you want the glass still?
Can I keep the power? Can I keep the prime? No, I'll take the prime, not you.
Would it help if you put a bit of okay, I should say that. Let me answer the question, kids. This is a good one. As a coach, Sometimes it's a challenge to get kids to drink water. Some kids drink a lot, some kids don't drink much. What would be an amount of water you're looking for? Okay, so one trick that might help to make them drink more would be to like cut it with one of the flavored drinks. That might help. I don't recommend pure water during sport. I recommend pure water during the day. During the day, like right now, Mr. Gatorade, during the day, that's when you drink pure water. During sport, don't get your kids to drink water. You can actually deplete out sodium and many of their electrolytes. They'll perform poorer. Yeah. So I would split it a little bit, and then how much do you get them to drink? Like between each shift, they should be doing a couple of squirts of the water bottle. If you want water bottles up, squirt right between shifts. That's one way to try and be objective about it.
And what would you say would be the ratio for the squirt, maybe the non-select?
We'll cut it at least by 50% then. Yeah, at least by 50. You could even go to 25% of the sugary one, and the BioSteel is no sugar in there, so I don't even think that's great during the game. You want a bit of sugar in there during the game. As long as you try to drink that BioSteel, that'd be fine, because I'm not running around. There's a whole bunch of BioSteels. I brought one. They're all different. And I actually can't remember off the top of my head. Some of them have protein. L-glutamine is another supplement that I talked about last night. It's in several of the BioSteels. L-glutamine is for, I use a lot in my practice for gastrointestinal problems, post-viral celiac disease, things like this. But L-glutamine also helps muscle recovery. So several of the powdered BioSteels put L-glutamine in there. This one here is a liquid one. It doesn't have L-glutamine in there. Yeah, but they are all different. They're not the same. Are there any other questions? Some of them do, but this, you said does BioSteel is sugar. This BioSteel is sweet stevia. Are there any more parent questions? Because I'll answer the kids' questions. I'll let them come up and I don't have